kind of one of those things of like, if you set yourself up for success, you're going to be successful, right? If you set yourself up for failure, you're going to fail, right? And it's like, I know I was going to be busy. I look at my calendar ahead of time. I know what's coming up, right? And so it's like, how can I set myself up for success, right? How can I have my groceries in place to the point where I can grab these different types of food, right? And people are like, oh, but you work from home, dude. Like, oh, you work at a desk or a computer. Like, you can cook in your kitchen. I worked in the medical field. I used to work 12-hour, 10-hour shifts. And I used to carry a whole lunch bag with me with 3 meals. And I used to eat my breakfast when I got to work.
Welcome to Iron Summit, the podcast where we dive deep into the art and science of becoming your best self, blending expert insights on strength training, smart recovery, optimal nutrition, and mindset mastery to help you elevate your game. Iron Summit is brought to you by Bridge Athletic. Looking for a way to streamline your training programs and deliver exceptional results? Check out our friends at Bridge Athletic. Their platform is packed with over 300 templates and 1,500 instructional videos, courtesy of subject matter experts like Exos, FMS, and Hyperice, making program design both efficient and impactful. Our listeners can take advantage of an exclusive offer. For a limited time, get your first 30 days free and your next month at 50% off when you use code IRONSUMMIT, all caps. That's code IRONSUMMIT, no spaces, all caps, for 30 days free plus 50% off your second month at bridgeathletic.com. Check it out and start assigning custom programs directly to your athlete's mobile device.
Max, that beer's coming in, man. Is that staying in a couple days?
That's a good question.
Leave it.
I don't know. Just leave it. I don't know if Alexis likes the mustache, but she doesn't like the beard as much. Your beard is thick, Ryan.
I know. It's been no
That
shave
thing
in
is
November.
You could hide something in there.
I need to trim the mustache a little bit. It's getting a little annoying.
Yeah, me too, actually. I keep doing
I'm thinking December 1, maybe we go nasty mustache.
yeah, I'm in. I'm always down for a mustache.
Johnny, come on.
Johnny,
We'll see.
Johnny,
I'll look like Speedy Gonzalez, bro. It's not a good look.
It's a great look.
That is a good look. I don't know what you're talking about. I wish I had your genes and I could rock a mustache. It'd be so much better.
Let's go. What's everybody doing for Thanksgiving?
I'm going to lift and eat.
That's good.
That's
good.
about right. I have a baby due any day now, so
You have like a to-go bag ready?
Yeah, we're totally ready. But if that doesn't happen tomorrow, which tomorrow is Thanksgiving, then I will. We're gonna go to my parents' house because they're close. We were gonna maybe go to Alexis's family's house in the Springs, but it's just too close to go time. So we're just gonna be around here. Definitely get a lift in and eat some good food, watch football, usual Thanksgiving things. What
There
about
you
you,
go.
Ryan?
Yeah, I got some family coming to town, hanging out with family. Yeah, eating some good food.
Playing tackle football.
Dude, we used to not Thanksgiving, but snow tackle football used to be my favorite thing in our backyard. Get all the neighbor kids and you can't really run in snow boots. It's so fun.
Yeah, that is fun. And you can't hit anyone that hard when you're in
And you land in snow.
flipping around. Yeah.
Yeah. That was fun. My
Well,
sister was one of the top draft picks when we draft teams. It was kind of funny.
actually, it's awesome.
Bro,
Are
she
you
was a
guys
savage.
are you guys team turkey or team ham?
We don't even do ham. Turkey. All the way.
Yeah. Turkey as well. What about you?
I'm a turkey guy, but it depends. I've never had a bad turkey, but I've never had a bad ham either. So I could honestly go with both. But ham is just a little tastier because it's fattier, you know?
Yeah.
I think turkey tastes better. It's a little dry sometimes, but I don't love ham.
Yeah. My mom, I gotta give her credit. She and actually the last couple of years we've done it at Alexis's dad too. They both do a brine where they let the turkey sit for 48 hours in the salt water and then they're not dry at all.
That's good.
But you do have to work really hard. Like I love Thanksgiving turkey, but you got to work really hard to make a turkey taste good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you really do.
I'd much rather like my grandma does like beef Wellington for like Christmas Eve dinner, and it's like my favorite meal of the year. I'm like Thanksgiving's like, yeah, it's good. The sides are good. It's all right. But like Christmas Eve is where it's at.
Yeah. Well, you got to work like for like 3 days to make a turkey taste like almost as good as just like a steak.
Yeah. Not even almost, like half as good.
Yeah, that's the truth. But I really
Literally.
enjoy, there's like a nostalgia about it, and
Yeah.
I love this crispy skin. Love some good crispy skin on a turkey.
Yeah.
I like the legs. The dark meat's really good.
Yeah.
Stuffing
That's
is
good.
probably my favorite. What's
Stuffing's
your
good.
least favorite Thanksgiving like item? I know mine.
Mine is a combination of, all right, just for fair warning,
Hispanic about to go in.
Hispanic people don't do stuffing. We think it's weird as shit that white people like soggy bread inside
Oh,
stuffed
it's so
inside their
good.
turkey.
It's so good.
It's disgusting. It's like grabbing sourdough with a bunch of seasonings and then putting it in water and eating it.
Exactly.
Sounds
delicious.
good. Have you
No.
have you tried it? Have you tried a white
I've
person
tried it.
stuffing?
Yeah. I've tried a white person stuff. It's not the best, to be honest.
Man,
But I mean, y'all got something. Yeah.
I'm gonna make stuffing is my favorite, so I feel very attacked right now. What else is that's your least favorite?
My least favorite, and I think like marshmallow sweet potato.
Yeah, I don't like
casserole.
that either.
I don't like that either.
I don't think we don't usually do that, but any of the cranberry sauce stuff, I'm like, I'm not a huge fan of it.
My man, I just leave it
Yeah.
off. I'm like, get that shit
Nope,
out of here.
get it out.
Yeah. Nope.
No cranberry sauce. I'm not I don't know about you guys, but I'm not a big sweet and savory guy. Like I
It's
like my
weird.
savory, and I like my sweet. Like I'll do like
Yeah.
my turkey and my stuffing because it's amazing, and my potatoes and gravy. Gravy's amazing, and then I'll have my sweets.
Yeah. Are you guys pumpkin pies? Like, you like pumpkin pie?
Yes,
I got two very
I feel like
different
that's a white
answers there.
people thing again.
It's a pumpkin pie is definitely a white person thing. No, look, check this out. Look, we were in charge of grabbing pies. I got a Whole Foods chocolate pecan pie. Look at that. That thing is
Pecan.
delicious.
Pecan.
Pecan. Okay, so I've had this argument, right? It's pecan when you say pie, but I'm never gonna tell somebody when it's the nuts, right? By itself, I'm never gonna say, "Hey, can I have some pecans?" Right? No, it's like, "Can I have some pecans?" Right? So that's my excuse for saying pecan
I
pie.
lost you there. I don't
Pecan?
get that at all, Johnny. It's pecan, brother.
I think it's pecan as well, but
How
man,
do you say
we're
the
really
brown-
disagreeing with Johnny on
Hey,
some.
all right. Last thing before we get into some fitness stuff. How do we say the brown thing that's sugar that starts with a C? It's a
Caramel?
candy. There you go. Okay.
Armin?
Okay. I don't really know what's right there. I feel like you could say both.
Caramel sauce?
Caramel.
Like, caramel? Caramel?
Max says caramel.
Caramel?
So I'm pronouncing all the letters in the word.
Caramel? I think it's a silent. I think some are silent, bro.
It's a silent
Caramel.
A. The silent second A.
Caramel.
Well, it's kind of like
caramel.
saying salmon and salmon.
No one's ever
Some-
said salmon.
Yeah, because people pronounce the L. People
Yeah, but
pronounce the L.
yeah, a silent L is
Salmon.
it makes a lot
Salmon.
more sense than a silent A.
Yeah, I
But,
eat salmon, right? So nobody says salmon. Salmon.
man, well, that's funny. That is a good segue into Thanksgiving and fitness. So that's a huge topic. How do you guys approach it?
Johnny, are you going or what? You just smiling?
Yeah. No, it's. I'm like,
Johnny's just smiling at me.
no, I used to have like the bodybuilder mindset of like counting my calories and like being super strict with it. As of recently, like what I do is I'll just have like a protein breakfast, just like fats and protein. I usually have like like 3 eggs, turkey bacon, and some fruit. And then like lunchtime, I'll just keep it to like some red meat, 93 beef with like probably like some veggies. And then I'll save like 2,500 calories for like the dinner portion. And then I'll have like 2 or 3 huge plates. And then I'll have like 4 or 5 slices of pie. And I'll just slam like almost 3,000 calories just for the dinner. And then I'm still hitting my
Perfect.
calories. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
That's
That's
good.
a
What
good
about you,
tip.
Max?
So Johnny's, I just want to surmise, Johnny's tip is like eat a little less, especially carbs, breakfast and lunch, maybe a little less food in general, and then just go to town. Also, you get a lift in, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll have like a scoop of like carbolene. So it's like carb powder. And I'll have that as like my pre-workout. I'll go lift. And then after that, I just go ham for dinner. And that's like my
Perfect.
post-workout glucose sensitive time.
I love it. You're up, Ryan.
Yeah, I think honestly, I've had so many years of like kind of watching it on Thanksgiving with, you got a tournament coming up that weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wrestling is brutal
I'm just kind of
for
like,
Thanksgiving.
I'm in my I don't care Thanksgiving phase. But like I'm not a big drinker, so I feel like I can't really mess it up too much. Like I'll get a workout in, get
That's a
some
good
movement
point.
in. And so it's like, especially now, like I'm trying to put on weight, so it's like extra calories is good. So I enjoy the food, try not to overdo it, and then just kind of get back on the horse, the next day. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I'm crushing. I'm not a huge sweets guy, so I don't know if I'm still hungry, eat some extra turkey and nothing crazy. Like I said, I like Thanksgiving. It's more like being around family and stuff. The meal is not like a huge
Yeah,
like binge draw for me, honestly.
yeah, me too. I think that's one is like I do like to work out on Thanksgiving. I notice like even this goes for like any time I really this in life. If you have to eat a lot, like you feel better when you're working out. Um, like if I go eat like a cheat meal with like quad patties at Craftsman, then I will. We got that together, is why I was saying it. But like if I worked out before, I digest it well. If I didn't, I'm like, oof, that was heavy. But
Yeah.
same with Thanksgiving dinner. I feel good after if I get a workout in. I also not like feel like it's annoying when you say I'm not a big sweets guy, but I'm the same way. Like they're not that tempting to me. So I will crush a bunch of turkey, stuffing, all of those good things. Like I don't worry about it at all. Have a slice of pie because it is like I enjoy it, but I won't have a bunch of it. And then yeah, I don't really drink either, so that's not like a big deal. Honestly, probably for all three of us because we're not big drinkers, that's probably where most people are doing most of the damage on
Yeah.
Thanksgiving because it's like that starts early. I never even knew that until like I got to college. Like Thanksgiving's a huge drinking holiday.
Dude, every holiday is, and not that like there's anything wrong with drinking. Like if you want to drink, like go enjoy some drinks, but maybe have, a couple instead of 12.
Yeah, exactly. I just tried to drink my water bottle with the lid on.
Yeah. No, you guys should see like Hispanic culture. That's wild. Dude,
Johnny, we
people
gotta
like,
come to a party or something, man. I'm intrigued now.
no.
I'll bring
Bro,
I'll bring the stuffing.
my, my
I got a
family,
pumpkin
my
pie.
family is like the worst example. Like we're so like whitewashed now, like to the point where
Okay.
like we don't really do a lot of like the same cultural stuff that people do. But like my like mom's side of the family, like they go hard, dude. Like they have like
Especially
traditional
Thanksgiving.
Hispanic like tamales and like all these crazy like desserts. But like very traditional Hispanic people, dude, they'll go to Costco, they'll be like walking out of there with like 36 packs of like Modelo's and Coors Light, and they just slam all of them that same night. Crazy.
Thanksgiving.
I get
I
it.
think that's
Yeah.
that's every like I don't know. You think about I mean, 4th of July, you drink. Christmas, you drink. Like Thanksgiving, you drink. You go grab drinks after work. You go to happy hour with your coworkers. Like drinking is just ingrained in everything. It's kind of crazy.
It is. It is, and it's yeah. How do you guys? Because I'm sure there are people who listen to the podcast who either want to drink less or getting into their fitness, and there is like a huge stigma on drinking and social pressure to drink. How do you guys approach that when you are not drinking and a lot of other people are?
I just don't care. I feel like I got through it with wrestling. Like honestly, I got through it with wrestling where like you get peer pressured a lot your freshman year of college, and I was just like, yeah, I'm good. And then eventually just kind of like it just is what it is. And so I feel like I just never really picked up the habit. And so now I don't know. I just don't feel weird about it. And I think the way the world's going now, it's like a lot more common to not drink. Like a lot of people are just like, whatever, where it used to kind of be like, yo, you're kind of weird.
Yeah, I've actually never like drank ever, like not even college. Like I went into like this phase, and what was it like when I was like 17, and I just got like hardcore into like bodybuilding, being like super lean year round, and like I'd go to like college parties, and like I'd go out with my buddies and they would all be drinking. I was the DD. Like I was always the one that was looking after everybody. Like I never drank, nothing. And I think it was a lot like mentality instilled by like my parents. It was kind of like if you're if your friends jump off a bridge, are you gonna do that too? And I was like, no. And so like they always kept like really like disciplining me right when I was a kid and like preparing me for those situations of like, okay, like if somebody's doing drugs, are you gonna do it too? And I'm like, yeah, like it's true. Like it's like why would you get peer pressured into doing something when your morals and your beliefs are set in stone, right? And so I feel like a lot of people who bully you or pressure you into drinking, it's just an internal problem and insecurity that they have because they can't stop drinking.
Yeah, a lot of time it's like they want you to drink because it makes them feel awkward if you're not drinking
If
and they
they're the
are.
only ones, yeah.
But especially if it's like a more intimate scenario, like a Thanksgiving. Yeah, those are interesting. I'm kind of the same way as both of you. I don't really care what people think, but I do think there are like, especially if you're someone, I can see someone who is trying to drink less, and then holidays are hard. They get peer pressure. There's like a couple you can. I know we talked about this one before, Ryan. You can do the soda water and bitters, so it looks like you're drinking something, even though you're not really. Ryan's brother loves that one. It's a great, it is a great tip though.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then you just don't have to get asked, especially like at work events and stuff. I'll do that.
I think the other thing too, though, is like, there's nothing wrong if you want to drink. Like, I feel like I used to be kind of a boner about it, where it's like, I don't want to drink, like whatever. No, it's like, hey man, if you want to drink, cool. Like, I'm not saying drinking's bad. There's, fun times when you're drinking. I just don't think it should be like every day after work, you grab a beer and you sit down and hang out. Like, if you want to drink every once in a while, a couple times a year, like, go for it. But,
Absolutely. I don't, yeah,
um,
no judgment, but also like, I don't want to do it. Then I don't want to do it. Like, I won't
also
judge you. Don't judge me.
yeah, and the older I get too, it's like, all right, do I really want to wake up tomorrow and like not feel good, not get a good night's sleep, kind of like ruin my day tomorrow? Like, that's not worth it for me a lot of the time.
Yeah. I'm just a big
For sure.
stickler on it. Like I push heavy on it, and more because I've had family members die from cirrhosis, and like they were alcoholics, and I've seen the damage it can do to families and stuff like that. And so like for us, it's just like clients, I'm just like, look, like one drink, two drinks, not bad, right? But if like you want to continue this, like it's got to mess up your hormones in the long run. It's very estrogenic for male, right? So that's where you get like the beer belly, you get the soft titties, right? And so it's like one of those things where it's like, yo, you want soft titties and a beer belly, like you got to get rid of the alcohol, and it'll slowly make like a big impact, right? And it's like it adds so fast, it adds up so fast. It's literally like three
That's
beers
what
and you're
people
in like
don't realize.
500 calories. Yeah.
That's what people don't realize. Yeah, I would think I would surmise like if you're drinking occasionally, like not a big deal at all. Do I want to do it? Probably not. And I'm also like one of those. I'm a little bit of that personality that like everything I do is like either all in or all out, and I don't want to be all in on drinking. That's not a good thing. So like every once
Not
in a
even
while
once,
is like,
Max.
yeah,
Just once.
uh, like, but every once in a while, it's not a big deal at all. Especially if it's like a couple drinks. Really not. Like it's not going to affect your health in any meaningful way. That being said, like if you are drinking regularly, there are legitimate health consequences. And that's like not to judge you for doing it or not. That's just like a fact. So it is what it is. But holidays are a big time. I just looked up Thanksgiving is the third biggest day of the year for DUIs besides New Year's Eve, Christmas. No, New
Makes
Year's
sense.
Eve,
Really?
Christmas, which is
Dang.
wild. And then
Yeah.
Wow.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that is nuts. I mean, New Year's Eve makes sense. I think the other thing too is like people just like treat drinking like whatever. But it's also, I don't know. I think you got to be, obviously got to be smart about it. But like even in like a business setting, like I've talked to a lot of people that are like, my rule is like at a business dinner, like I'm 2 drinks and I'm done. Um, and I think there's like a certain, like people feel comfortable, you get looser, maybe you connect better with people on certain
Great
settings,
social lubricant.
r-
Yeah.
but there's like a fine line there. And like, I don't know. I also think I kind of just don't love the idea of some people feel like they can only turn their personalities on if they're drinking. So I don't know. I think you got to know yourself and keep yourself in check. And like Johnny said, like it's really destructive for some people. Some people can just like be like, yeah, I'm done. I'm good after a couple. And some people are like, they touch it and then their body craves it and they can't stop. So like kind of, kind of know if you can partially do it or not. And if it aligns with your goals. Um, and enjoy life too. I mean, you could die tomorrow, get hit by a bus, and so I wouldn't just be
Yeah.
just so
No,
over the
there's a
top.
ton.
But
This is a good segue into our next topic because I think this is the drinking thing will tie back into this one. But they're moving on from Thanksgiving. There's like this don't want to get political at all, but the new cabinet, RFK was appointed the head of what is it, Health and Human Services. There's like and that is reflective of kind of like this larger movement within the US towards healthier foods, better food quality foods for the American public, non-toxic materials, no toxic like dyes in foods. Like I know there's a big movement against red dye 40. Basically, and like calling for the US to have a lot of the same regulations on food that Europe and Canada have. Um, Not just foods, but also like materials, bottles, plastics, and people are really worried about plastics, microplastics, drinking out of plastic bottles, even like the shampoos they use, all that kind of stuff. There's definitely a movement in this direction, which don't get me, I think is like politics aside, if we can have better food quality in the US, I'm about it. Like I go to Europe and my little poor sensitive tummy does awesome. I can eat whatever I want. But in the US, I have to be like very picky, choosy. Like I would love personally, like just selfishly, if all our food, like we didn't have to be so selective, didn't have to spend a bunch of money on organic. That being said, what I want to get your guys' opinion on is I think a lot of people get like too focused on this stuff and start putting the cart before the horse. So like what do you guys think about all this? Like, are you a fan of it? How would you like recommend to someone that's like really into like non-toxic things, other things they maybe should think about first? Like just open discussion. What do you guys think?
I think you always pick the low hanging fruit first. I know it's easy to like go down the rabbit hole of like, um, I don't know, just all the little things you can do. I've had a buddy growing up and he would tell me how much he's like doing these cold tubs and like all this stuff. And then he's like, he's not working out. He's eating like crap. He's like, like, I go, hey man, I'm glad you feel great doing cold tubs. Like, awesome. You can do that every single day. I think you would get more out of going to the gym 3 days a week and eating good 80% of the time, and like getting 8 hours of sleep. So I think it's like, one, what's your priority? Two, like, what's your biggest bang for buck? Like, what's actually moving the needle? And then as you go down that line, you can go more and more. And I think if you're completely optimizing your life, it's actually not good. Like you're too overly optimized where you're so like anal about everything going on that you can't like go enjoy dinner with a friend. You can't like stray off of your schedule a little bit and go see this movie or go, miss 30 minutes of sleep because you catch up with a buddy that's in town. Like I think there's a spectrum and you're trying to be like good, but don't let perfection be the enemy of good. Um, and move that needle as quickly as you can with those low hanging fruits, and then start specializing from there.
What do you think, Johnny?
The same way. I feel like I'll have clients sometimes who are like, so should I get organic blueberries or regular blueberries? I'm like, dude, you're drinking 6 beers a day. I'm like, how
You're
about
asking
we
the
get
wrong question.
rid? I'm like, that's the wrong question, bro. I'm like, let's get rid of the beer and keep the normal blueberries. Like, it's not gonna kill you if they're organic or not, right? I get the whole thing behind like, people putting like different additives and like different like sucralose instead of like stevia, right? And it's like, well, like, is it really going to be that bad for you to like mess up your gut microbiome if you're eating it every once in a while, or like you're having it as like a fun meal, right? And so my biggest approach too is with my own nutrition and other people's nutrition is I always say like 80-20. I personally do like 90-10. I'm a lot more of a stickler with nutrition, but general population, you want to have a lifestyle, be healthy, live a good life, be 20, focus on food quality, yes. But if that 80% of whole foods, you start getting too into the weeds of like, well, I need USDA organic beef and I need to make sure this is like grass-fed whey protein instead of like regular whey isolate. It's like, well, it's like, is the grass-fed whey isolate really going to be a lot better than like regular whey isolate? Like, is it going to give you different gains? Like, is it, you know what I mean? And people start getting into these
That's the
different
key
types of
question.
like, like
Yeah.
loopholes, right? Of like,
Yeah.
okay, so if I get grass-fed whey, is it better than like regular whey? And it's like, all right, so like, like recently, right? I got sponsored by Legion, and so they have grass-fed whey isolate. And then I have an old whey isolate that I use, which is like Dimetized or like Isofit from Nutrex. And it's like, is there really like that big of a difference, right? Like I drink both. Both are great. They're both lactose free. They're gluten free. So like my tummy can tolerate it. But at the same time, it's like you have those clients or people, right, who get so into the nitty gritty of it. It's like, dude, 25 grams of protein, whether it's grass fed or regular, your body, it's not like you put it in and your brain's like, oh, this is grass fed or this is regular, right? And so I think people, kind of like Ryan said, right? It's kind of like you're getting too into like the specifics and kind of micronizing everything, where it's kind of like, if you look at the bigger picture, like sleep, nutrition, training, like how's your base foundation with that? And then from there, you can probably start like focusing on those little things like supplement quality and food quality and things like that.
Yeah. You can continually optimize.
Yeah.
Here's like, I put a lot of thought because I get these questions all the time about like, what supplements should I be taking? Or like, should I be buying this organic? I think there's like 4 things you got to be doing all the time before you're worrying about that stuff, like continuing to optimize. One, and probably the most important, is like calories in versus calories out, right? Like that's got to be close. Whether you're gaining or losing, or at least you know what you're doing. Like if you're eating more calories, then you have a purpose and a goal, and you're eating less, it's less. But like calories in versus calories out is like king. Most of the problems in America today are not caused by red dye 40 or sucralose or artificial ingredients. It's caused by people living a very sedentary lifestyle and eating way more calories than they're burning. So number one thing, like calories in versus calories out, be aware of that balance. Like understand what you're eating. Macronutrients matter a lot more than micronutrients is the like hard truth. The second thing is consistently exercising at least 3 times a week. So you got to be doing those 2 things at least 3 times a week, and probably for a total of, let's say, like an hour. Those 2 things. The third thing is sleeping in a consistent and like at least 6 hours a night in a consistent way. Those 3. And then the number 4, I would say, is like drinking less than, I don't know, not drinking a lot. I don't want to put a number on it, but don't be consuming a bunch of alcohol or any other drugs really, but alcohol is the one everyone likes to do in the US and or around the world, and is very socially accepted. Once you're doing those 4 things, now you can start worrying about like your food source, your micronutrients, your microplastics. Like before then, you're kind of, and it's not to say you can't worry about it. It's just like, you're probably doing other things. Like if you're not nailing those 4 things, you're doing other things in your life that have a way bigger negative health impact than any amount of microplastics or red dye 40. Like alcohol, for example, is a toxin. There's no like, you're ingesting a lot of a toxin at once, not just like tiny amounts. So those are like, that's kind of the way I would look at it. And if you're nailing those things, then you can start looking at, and then you can optimize each of those things, and you can get down all the wormholes, like you guys said. But like, let's set a base first, and then go from there. That being said, I would love if all our food was better quality. And if maybe like with this movement in general, people will start getting like more into their health and understanding the broader picture and getting more consistent with their outside routines. Like we're just like going to become more health conscious as a country. So
Yeah, I think like going off that, Max, as well, like I feel like a lot of people know what to do. It's like keeping yourself accountable when times get busy, when stuff piles up, when you're stressed out. Like we were just talking about before this pod, like Johnny, you're working 13-hour days right now. Like, how are you staying on track with your fitness goals, even if it's maybe not the most like building time of your fitness career these last few days, but how do you keep yourself on track? And
At Iron Summit, we are about getting everything we can out of our workouts and everyday lives. If you aren't wearing a pair of barefoot or wide toe box trainers, you are leaving gains on the table. The Sashi Athletics Ronin Ichi Minimalist Trainer is a perfect barefoot shoe. Not only does it perform like other major brands on the market, it is actually good looking. Even my wife says so. Get a pair today for 10% off with the code IronSummit10. Link is in the bio.
instead of, and like make your lifestyle around that, where your goals are prioritized, even when, you got a sick kid at home, you got something going on with work where you're up really late, when you got stuff going on. And I think figuring out those, putting those inside, making your life more streamlined and being thoughtful about that, um, makes it a lot easier to stick to it when it's like you come home, you're exhausted, and you're like, I just want a piece of pizza, instead of like having some, I don't know, pre-cooked steak or some chicken for you, and you have a good meal in front of you. So, yeah, John, you want to talk a little bit? I think this was kind of relevant what we were talking about before we hopped on.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things, right, where I I structure it the same way that I would on a non-busy day, right? It's just that the only difference is meals are quicker, right? So it's like instead of cooking 93 ground beef with like jasmine rice and some avocado and veggies and doing all those nice recipes you see me make on my social media, it's more of like, let me dumb it down and make it super basic. Like egg whites in a shake with blueberries, peanut butter, oatmeal, and a scoop of whey protein. I get the same amount of macros, but I'm still giving my body whole foods, right? It just took me 2 minutes to make that in between calls. I can drink it while I'm working and then continue with my day, right? Is it good to be having liquid calories all the time? Probably not, right? But it's either that or, quick option. I can go run across the street and go to, Chipotle, or I can go to Burger King or Wendy's and grab a burger, right? But it's like, it'll probably take me longer to do that. And I could just cook at home, right? And I can make a 10-minute meal. And same thing, right? It's kind of one of those things of like, if you set yourself up for success, you're going to be successful, right? If you set yourself up for failure, you're going to fail, right? And it's like, I know I was going to be busy. I look at my calendar ahead of time. I know what's coming up, right? And so it's like, how can I set myself up for success, right? How can I have my groceries in place to the point where I can grab these different types of food, right? And people are like, oh, but you work from home, dude. Like, oh, you work at a desk or a computer. Like, you can cook in your kitchen. I worked in the medical field. I used to work 12-hour, 10-hour shifts. And I used to carry a whole lunch bag with me with 3 meals. And I used to eat my breakfast when I got to work. And if, I know some of my coworkers from back then probably listen to this podcast because they follow me on Instagram, and they know they used to make fun of me. They're like, oh, here comes the bodybuilder. And I used to have my gallon jug. I used to have I had a 6-pack meal pack lunchbox, right?
I
It
remember
had my
those.
little
Yeah.
coolers. Yeah. And I still have it. I just never use it anymore. Right. But that thing was like, I set myself up for success, right? I took away all the excuses and I said, all right, I'm going to have a 12-hour shift. I need to eat my meal at 4 or 3 p.m., quickly shove that thing in 3 minutes or 5 minutes before I start another, patient consultation or helping a provider, right? And then from there, it was like, all right, cool. I got off work at 6 or 7 and I drove straight to the gym and got my lift in. Gym closed at 9:30, 9 p.m., right? And so I was in there 1 hour. Sometimes I only even had 45 minutes to hit my list because I got there at 8 o'clock, right? If there was a snowstorm and I was driving late to work. So I've been on both sides, right? Of like what it's like to be in the workforce, working in person, and what it's like to work now, like just remote. And it's all about setting yourself up for success, because I could easily be just as lazy now that I work from home and then I'm at a computer. If I go to a coffee shop, and I could just like go to a coffee shop and like drink a iced latte with a bunch of sugar and ask for like a breakfast burrito there, or like a muffin or something, right? Whereas it's like, it's still the same basic principles, right? Nothing changes. It's just kind of like, how do you set yourself for success? Get rid of the excuses. And if you're set up for yourself for success, you're going to be successful. And biggest thing there, it's like, if you fail to prepare, you're going to fail.
Preparation.
Preparation's key. Yep.
Yeah, and I think also like I'm not saying people need to even be even close to Johnny. Like Johnny's obviously like the shining example of preparation and like thinking about his meals, packing the 6-pack
Yeah.
bag. And that's a very small subset of the population that's even willing to do that. But I'm just saying, just like, no, you can go to Chipotle, just get the healthier options and know what you're eating, and get your 90 minutes of exercise a week. That's not that much. Like
Yeah. And I
these are
love how
low,
you said
these are
that,
low
right?
hanging fruits.
Chipotle. Yeah, Chipotle, right? It's like people, there's like, there's like healthy, fast, healthy, right? However you want to phrase it or look at it, like, but there's better options out there. If I have a client right now, lost 30 pounds, no change, no meal prep, nothing. This dude is an electrician, drives 45 minutes to work all the way in Vale, sometimes Aspen, sometimes Breckenridge, whatever it is. This dude wakes up at 5 in the morning, gets a workout in his apartment complex, and fits in his macros, right? Breakfast is usually a protein shake right after his workout, a banana, and then he's on the road. He'll stop at Chipotle, he'll stop at Qdoba, wherever he is, burrito bowl, double steak, double rice, veggies, and there you go. It's just like you made a meal at home. Is it cooked with canola oil instead of olive oil? Is it cooked with vegetable oil instead of avocado oil? Yeah, but that's the thing, right? You don't want to get into the little details like that. More of it's like energy balance and how much calories are you eating and what is the actual like quality of food that you're giving your body.
Yeah, I think you got to look at your own situation case by case here, but there's ways to optimize your situation. If you got early morning commute, you got a long commute, like plan the night before, bring snacks, make sure that and there's sometimes it's out of people's budgets, but like you can always buy for more convenience. Like we had meal prep. Jose was on here the other day. You could get a meal prep company. You could, spend 2 hours on a Sunday and batch cook a bunch of meals, put them in glass Tupperware, put them in your fridge and let them sit there for the week. You might have a little bit of bland meals, but like, it's like, is that more important than like to be jacked and eat a couple of bland meals or not? I think,
Yeah.
like
Priorities.
I think like one of the easiest things you can do is make sure you pack your snacks, make sure you're like mindful about it. And then I think it's really easy to follow a diet if you have pretty similar breakfast and lunch every day, because you're like, I know exactly how many calories I'm getting. And then, if you want, go cook dinner at home or go out to dinner with your spouse. Like, I think the food thing, everybody gets it, but there's so many prepackaged, highly calorically dense foods that are easy to grab on the way and, in the work snack bar, in the convenience store, in the gas station. Like, just
And they're
stay away from
tempting
that
as
stuff.
heck. Yeah. Well, these things, I think they are like, and this is where like this whole movement is, these things are like engineered to taste good. Like, I know when all the warnings came out about cigarettes in like the 80s and 90s, and they're starting to have to put warnings on labels. And the big tobacco companies, you know what they went and did? They bought food companies. That's not like, sounds conspiratorial, but it's not. Like, I think the biggest what is it? What's the big tobacco company? I always mess this up. Robert Morris.
I
I
don't
think
know.
that's it.
We're talking about big tobacco,
Yeah, big tobacco, big tobacco
big
conspiracy.
pharma, big
No, I think it's
tobacco.
Robert Morris. No, that's not it.
What about like, isn't there like a British, what's a Marlboro? I don't know, man.
Philip Morris. Boom.
You
Philip
got it.
Morris own which food companies? I'm just going to look this up so we don't make things up. Kraft, General Foods, and Nabisco.
Dang.
Yeah, they were like, well, we're not going to get to sell cigarettes. Let's sell tasty foods that are tempting. So my point is, though, these things are like engineered to be tempting to people, right? Like they're meant to be. So it's hard to avoid them, especially if you're used to going to that kind of stuff. But it's so important for our health. And also, Ryan, you like cook your meals and put them in plastic Tupperware as long as you're like cooking your meals.
Yeah.
The glass Tupperware is even better, right? Like, yeah, do that. But if like that's somehow a hang up for you, you don't want to spend money on glass Tupperware. Like, your meals prepped at home, even if they're in plastic, are going to be better than something you buy from one of the, like a gas station or even probably Qdoba or Chipotle.
Yeah. I think the art of it too is just like fit it into your schedule. Like figure out, you got to kind of like meet them where they're at. And it's like, how can you best optimize your schedule? Pick those low hanging fruits. I mean, you think about it with work, with relationships, with whatever, like you want to do the most effective things first. You don't want to like solve the big issues first. And once you solve those issues, then we can have the conversations on like what supplement might help, what oil can you be cooking with, what nutrients are you deficient in? Like, but first get your sleep, hit your macros, make sure you're preparing for all this stuff,
Work
limit your
out.
drinking a little bit, make sure you're moving, you're not sitting at a desk 12 hours and not doing anything. Like, I think there's start with something, start changing it and stack those habits.
Yep. Love it. Yeah. I think we beat that dead horse or whatever they say.
Yeah. And I think going back to, kind of like what's getting legalized and kind of all these changes in like the health system, I think also like with peptides, right? And a lot of these medications that are starting to come out and people can abuse them, right? I've run into my fair share of clients that have done the Ozempic, the semaglutide, right? The GLP-1s, right? Where they've kind of like seen all these advertisements. And it's crazy that you can literally just go on a website and order this stuff, right? And there's people that are literally coming to us, right? And they're literally using this as a means of losing weight. And you talk to some of these people and you're like, hey, so like, how's your nutrition? How's like your training? How's your sleep? They're like, oh no, like I'm not following a diet. They're like, I'm just injecting this certain amount, this many times a day. Like, and like it's helped me lose like 15 pounds. And they're like, but I gained it all back plus some. And I'm just like, whoa. I'm like, so you were 150 example, when you started using this, dropped to 135, and then now you're 180. Like, yeah. And then one person developed seizures, right? Never had a history of seizures. And all of a sudden started getting seizures, right? And so there's something behind like, there obviously has to be control and regulation, right? But we also don't want to look at these peptides and GLP-1s and all these medications out there, right? They're created with a purpose to help people who actually need them, right? And so if you are overweight and kind of like how we talked about, because you're overeating, you're over consuming calories, right? You're drinking too much, which is consumption of alcohol, right? And calories, and you're not sleeping well, and you have stress, and you're not diabetic, you don't need to be taking semaglutide, right? You don't need to be taking these GLP-1s that will help you with your overall controlling blood sugar, which is what it's made for diabetics, right? Helping them treat their blood sugar, helping them increase their metabolism, helping them in a medical setting, right? Where it's like, how can this help them, get into a healthy weight, right? Where they're able to control their blood sugar, control their blood pressure, control their cholesterol. And then we have day-to-day people just like taking this stuff, like, like going to like the gym and just lifting weights. And they're like, yeah, I'm getting in shape. You got like all these headlines, like Oprah was on semaglutide. It helped her lose 50 pounds. You can start your journey today. And it's like that's crazy.
It's going to start getting pushed. What
yeah.
do you think of, this is a hot topic. Ryan, what do you think of semaglutide? I have an opinion.
I just think nothing's going to work if you don't change your habits. It's just like the professional athletes that they go broke after. It's like you netted $100 million from your career, then you're broke. It's like you never change your habits. You're spending a bunch of money doing useless stuff. Like people that win the lottery, like there's a crazy stat out there. People that win the lottery go broke because they have a bunch of money. They didn't earn it. They didn't build the habits to get it and be a good steward of that wealth, and they lose it all. And I think the same thing with this stuff. Like there's no fix it pill. You got to stack years and years of habits, good habits to fix this stuff. I think if you're 400 pounds and it's hard for you to move and you need a little push, maybe these drugs are life saving and it gets you down enough to where you can start building those habits. But if you're like, hey, I'm a little overweight and I just want the easy road, it's I don't think that's the path for you. Do the hard work, put in the hours, stay dedicated, build those habits, and then make it a lifelong thing and make it something you earned. Because the second you stop taking those, you're done. Like it's just you're going to put all the weight back up. You're going to balloon up. So yeah, I don't know. That's my long-winded way. What about you, Max?
I think semaglutide by itself is not a bad thing. It's like any other medication. It's a peptide that does something. And that something happens to just make you not hungry. It acts on your GLP-1 receptor, which just basically makes you not hungry, and it slows down your digestion. And
you lose a bunch of muscle with it too, right?
Well, here's the thing: it doesn't actually regulate anyone's blood sugar really, and it doesn't actually make anyone lose any weight. It just makes you eat less. So what's happening is you have your average layman who has no idea about how much protein to eat. They probably were under eating protein before they got on semaglutide. Now they're under eating protein even more severely. They're not exercising. They're doing an injection. So then what they're doing is they're basically in a big caloric deficit with no guidance, no thought behind it. It's just like they're eating less of shit they were eating before. They're just eating a very small amount of shit now. So that, of course, you're going to lose muscle mass because you're not training and you're eating no protein, right? What do you do? What happens to your body when you don't train? Zero protein, you lose muscle mass. Semaglutide is just pushing them in that direction. What I can say, like, that's the worst case scenario, is you have someone who doesn't work out, doesn't understand what they're eating, doesn't even really understand why they were overweight in the first place, to Johnny's point, and then they take this peptide that makes them have zero hunger, and then you have a cascade of a bunch of negative things. And by the way, when they get off, they're probably going to go right back to where they were because, like you said, Ryan, they developed no habits along the way. They were just doing an injection. They learned how to do subcutaneous injections. That's what they learned. And how to dilute peptides. Good job. But that being said, I think there are certain applications where it can be really helpful. Like if someone is really trying, they're doing the right, and they just like you were saying just before, Ryan, they keep reaching for the crappy snacks. Like they can't break that habit. I think semaglutide can help that person to like develop the right habits. And there's actually science on semaglutide. Like it changes how your brain craves things. That's probably the most positive thing it does. Yeah. It can like decouple that dopamine reliance, especially when it comes to food. But they're even using it with, and I think with some success with like addicts, recovering alcoholics, people recovering from different drug addictions, because it helps decouple that like dopamine relationship your brain has with those addictive substances. So I think if you're doing it with guidance, with like you're eating enough protein, you're exercising, you're getting enough food in, like you're tracking your macros, you're doing all, and you're just like really struggling to make that like get over that hump, then it probably can be a useful thing. And you're doing it, you're not abusing the amount you're taking, like all that kind of stuff, then it probably is not a terrible thing. But that being said, that's probably 1% of the people taking semaglutide. It's really being used on that more like easy, quick fix scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's also, go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, I was just saying, disclaimer, we're not doctors, so doctor.
Take nothing I say with, don't take semaglutide unless you're doing it with your doctor and doing it smart.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ryan.
Or you can refer to our team member, Dr. Carly, for that kind of advice.
There we go.
Yeah,
he is a doctor. But
he is a doctor.
For our legal team, that was not medical advice. This is purely entertainment.
Exactly.
Listen to nothing we're saying.
Nothing at all. Disclaimer. Yep. But it's also kind of sad, right? Because you see a lot of these, like I started using TikTok, right, as like a social media platform to start, reaching out to more people for health and fitness. And you bump into a lot of these kids that, they're commenting and they want these like quick fix solutions, right? And it's like, people are so conditioned now, right? We get everything so fast. Amazon 2-day shipping.
TikTok itself is fast.
Yeah. And so it's like everything we receive is so fast. So everybody wants like instant results and instant gratification, right? And so it's like, it's kind of like scary to see like how some of these like 19, 20, 21-year-olds are hopping on steroids and peptides and stars.
Oh, like steroids are like a thing with teenagers right now.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's scary, right? It's like it's funny enough, I had a guy come up to me today, looked pretty young. I was doing some tricep overhead extensions and this guy's like, dude, you're massive. He was like, are you prepping for a show or are you competing? I was like, no, I'm just like having fun lifting. Like, I don't have anything like in mind yet. And he was like, oh, well, have you competed before? I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, he's like, what do you recommend? And I was like, I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, yeah, like, what should I take? And I was like, oh, I was like, well, he's like, well, what do you take? And I was like, I just drink like protein powder, like pre-workout drinks. He's like, no, what do you actually take? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, are you on steroids? And I was like, no. He's like, have you ever done a steroid cycle? I was like, no. I was like, dude, I'm like, I never done any of that. I'm like, I got on like prescription testosterone replacement therapy, like, because I needed it. Like, I didn't even want to take it. I'm like, but my provider, I work with a doctor. It's like super low dose, like medically seen, right? And this guy's like, no way. He's like, dude, you got to be lying. I was like, no. And I'm like, look, dude, pulled up a picture, like scrolled all the way back on my Instagram. I'm like, this is when I was 18, bro. He was like, no way, you were that jacked when you were 18. I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, I've been lifting for over 12 years. I'm like, I've been eating, breathing, living, like bodybuilding, lifting, and like just following the basic things, right? This guy's like, oh, well, I took steroids last year. I lost everything. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right, dude. I'm like, you tried to take all these quick fixes to like, get jacked and get the easy quick fix. And then now he's like telling me that he's like struggling with hormone balance and he messed up his system and he's just not feeling great. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what it is. That's what gives you a quick fix, right? You need to have that foundation of nutrition, training, properly doing the thing, right? And I think it's like what we talked about with Dr. Carly in our previous episode, which even he himself said it, right? It's like, it's the last resort, right? How do we fix first, when a patient comes to him and he's a male in his 30s, 40s, early 20s, whatever it may be, right? Like, what are you actually doing that's causing you to have low testosterone, right? Are you eating poorly? Are you not sleeping enough? Are you going to the gym? Do you have some sort of resistance training? Do you have an active sex life? And many guys just are like thinking like, oh, like I'm like overweight and this and that because my testosterone low. It's like, no, well, let's look at your habits first. And a lot of times you fix that and then it naturally makes them feel better and their testosterone starts to get higher, right? And so it's like, how do we draw that fine line, right? Of like, when is it good and when is it bad, right? Because too much of something is also not good, but too little of something is also not good, right? Too little testosterone is not good for you, but too much testosterone is also not good for you, right? So how can you find that middle ground of like, what is good for you? Where do you feel the best, right? And how can we, I guess it's kind of hard, right? But it's just kind of sad to see like where the industry's heading with like, especially a lot of these like younger folks to the point where like now they're thinking about like censoring like YouTube, right? For like younger kids, because they're looking at all these like steroid using YouTube videos and like all these like 18-year-olds that are making YouTube channels and they're just getting jacked out of their mind on steroids.
Yeah, I think that's like kind of a tangent off what you're saying, but kind of what you were saying too is like, it is interesting. I think social media is getting to the point and people seem to be realizing it where it's kind of ruining attention spans. So you got to be very mindful about the social media you're consuming. Cause I think, I mean, I even find myself like if I'm in like line at a grocery store, I'll pull out my phone and like start scrolling or something. I can't stand there for, 20 seconds waiting for the thing. And it's like, that's like, why am I pulling out my phone? I got nothing to do here. Put it back in my pocket, so I think, I don't know. I think it needs to be used as a tool, but not
Yeah.
in the bad way. What were you going to say, Matt?
No, I think it's to the quick fix thing. We're just like want things and want it now, whether it's media or entertainment, just being entertained in the grocery store. I think we all know that feeling, or gains or fat loss. And we want it now and we want it easier. And Ryan and I have talked about this a lot before, but like I think what's unfortunate, and I have to remind myself this, although like I think everyone has to remind themselves this, especially this is today's modern society's challenge is no longer like scarcity. It's overabundance and like ease of things and speed of things. And really like the magic sauce for feeling good mentally, physically, emotionally is the grind and the hard work itself. Like it's the hours you put in to achieve the physique you wanted. It's the meal prep you did to have the meals for the week. It's the hard work you put in at your job. It's as a parent, parenting is probably like the greatest example of this. Parenting is one of the hardest things anyone can do. I'm about to embark on that. feel that, right? Like it's a scary task, but it's also like the most rewarding thing you can do. So that like the special sauce is in the work itself. So like all that to be said, do the work, but like, and then you can start looking to optimize things. Talking about peptides is super fun, even like supplements, all that kind of stuff. But really, you should like put in the work first. Really try, and if you're a 19-year-old kid trying to get jacked, put in 10 years of hard training and diligence on your nutrition, and then you can think about things. But like, you're going to just feel so much better about where you got anyway because you worked for it.
And nothing worth having is easy. Like if you aced a test, you aced your math test and you didn't study for it, you're like, cool, it was an easy test. But if you studied, 3 weeks straight, staying up late, and then you ace the test, you feel good about it. So, yeah, I love that, Max. I think putting the work in, and if anybody has questions on stuff on their specific situations, like shoot us a DM. We'd love to talk about this stuff.
Yeah. Work for it. It's not supposed to come easy.
Think in decades.
Boom. Send it there.